You can advertise your business on Night Dreams Talk Radio, and you will be heard worldwide. Why not contact us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com. The views, opinions, and representations expressed on the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network and its website are those of the hosts, guests, and participants, and are not necessarily those of or endorsed by the network, its affiliated stations and broadcasts, the management, other hosts, or advertisers of the network. The shows found on the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network can, but do not necessarily, promote any particular lifestyle, belief, religion, political affiliation, or other personal practice. These shows are for entertainment purposes only, and are not intended to treat, diagnose, and or claim any cure of disease or condition, or give any medical or legal advice. Your Saturday, paranormal psychic and ghost hunter, on Night Dreams Talk Radio Network, James Creachbaum.
Hello, everybody. That's me. That's what my birth certificate says. Yes, sir. And this is www.nightdreamstalkradio.com. And hey, without further ado, here's my guest, Sharon Day. Sharon, give us a little story about yourself. Go ahead.
Oh, my. Okay, I'll try to put it in a nutshell. I run the blog, Ghost Hunting Theories. Ghost Hunting Theories is the #1 ghost hunting blog in the world, the #8 paranormal blog in the world. I'm also the author of a lot of books having to do with things of the unexplained. I am an investigator of pretty much everything you can think of that's unexplained. Some of my big focus lately has been ancient giants, and Bigfoot is another really big one that I'm absolutely obsessed with. Ghosts, of course, aliens, psychic, you name it. Anything that we haven't yet explained fully or proven. And it's a whole lifestyle, pretty much, to be completely and utterly inundated with the unknown, an X-Files kind of life. I enjoy it, but I grew up in a place that sort of promoted that. It was a Civil War hospital, and this Civil War hospital that I was born and raised in, it was one of the most haunted places in America.
Hold on, and I gotta ask you, where was that at exactly?
It was in Fairfax, Virginia.
Oh wow, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so the house was incredibly haunted, and it was often the subject of a lot of Washington newspapers, and NBC did a special on the ghosts, and at one time they called it one of the top 10 most haunted houses in America. And It wasn't just the house, the whole property was incredibly haunted. At one point, the North took over the land, and it was a Quaker family living there. They had a Underground Railroad hidden room within the house. And the North took it over, used it as a field hospital. They built a fort on the property as well that saw a lot of action. And then later on, the South took it back over and used it for the same purpose. So the wooden floors in the home were still stained with the blood of both sides.
Oh,
so,
yeah. I know all about that. Listen, I went to Gettysburg just this September.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for a week. And the Balladary Inn, I stayed there, and they did so many amputations. There's blood stains still there 150 plus years later.
Yeah.
Listen, yeah. I'm psychic too, and the energy in there was palpable. And there was an older lady who every night would stand in the corner, but she was of the dead kind. And I'd walk in, wave to her, say hello, and she would dim the chandelier. One night it went clear off, come back on. I'd go on up to bed. You know, it was I know what you're talking about there.
Absolutely, and I guess I had sort of an unusual indoctrination into ghosts because since I was a baby, we were there, and to me that was absolutely a normal part of the world. I didn't question it. I didn't question gravity or, the sun coming up. I didn't question the fact that I was living aside of some other entities that had, been in that space, and so it was very natural. And my parents had a really good attitude. They used to say, these soldiers died away from their families, and, you kids are all here, so they're going to guard you. And so if you see them walk in the halls or you hear them at night, just know that there's nobody better to protect you than soldiers.
Well, I got to ask you, did you have what is called imaginary friends when you were young?
Oh, yeah. Well, I used to openly talk to the ghosts when I was little.
Right.
And I'd go into a room. There was one room in particular in the house, the music room. And in the music room, a soldier he was dying, and he was in great pain, and there was no way he was going to survive. But the man who was working as the doctor in the hospital, he was beyond exhausted. He was done with this. And so one of the women acting as a nurse went in and basically smothered the man to death to put him out of his misery. And
wow.
He was very much a part of that room. And I used to go into that room, and if I felt his energy in there at that time, I would, address him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really. Whew. So you've had basically psychic abilities from as far back as you can remember, probably, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I grew up with a metal detector in my hand, basically, just picking up artifacts everywhere. We had huge showcase filled with artifacts, and every time I would dig up something new, I'd come rushing to my mom, and I'd be like, "Mom, this is so-and-so's, and he did this, and this happened to him, and his sister was this, and his mom was that." And my mom would just look at me like, what are you talking about? And I didn't realize that she could touch something and not get all this other information.
Well, that's that's what I want to ask you. I forget the word for it, but you can pick something up and get information from it by holding it.
Psychometry. Yeah,
that's the word. Yeah, thank you very much for that. No, I couldn't think of, but yeah, that's what you can do, though.
Yeah, that's my primary skill. I think pretty much any psychic can do a wide range of things, but that is the primary one that I got weaned on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's probably your bread and butter one, I would say. I'm asking you. I mean,
yeah.
Okay. That's great. That's great. Hey. I know a lot of people use that as a tool to help a lot of people. Police departments, all kind of places can use that gift. You know what I mean?
Well, as a paranormal investigator, I like to think of it as being a bloodhound. I don't necessarily take my reads on a building as being the absolute truth, but if I can go in and I can tell you about the space, who went where the energies are, where we should focus a camera, those are the kinds of things that having those skills is good for.
Hey, listen, when you got those kind of skills, man, you can't teach that stuff. That's wow. That's good stuff to have. Yeah. And I can just imagine the evidence or stuff you've gotten that if you didn't have that little bit of talent, you wouldn't have got.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's always verifying for me to go into a place and do a read on it, not knowing anything about the building, and then go back and find out what the history is and have others confirm the things that I picked up. And it's still, even though I've done it, I'm in my 50s and I've been doing it my whole life, it still kind of shocks me and throws me off. I can't explain how I do it, but I observe how I do it. And, I've learned there's certain materials that are easier to read, some materials that are very hard to read, and I can only make estimates about why that is. But what is it transferring? I don't know.
Right. And that it's something you can't teach. I think everybody's got abilities. Just some people are just more in tune to them, you know what I mean? Or, you're just better at it maybe or whatever. But that's great, man. Listen, I know, just this week I went for a trip to see my girlfriend down in Tennessee, and I'm down there, and I've never, I don't know much about Tennessee. And I'm driving along, and boy, I come across places, it hits me like a wave or a brick wall, and man, I'm telling you, it was hitting me, and I get around this little bend, and it was like, boom. I didn't know what it was, but I seen it, and I felt it before I seen it, and here to come find out it was the Sam Davis plantation. And I guess there's a lot of history. I didn't know nothing about it, but I know psychically. Well, I never knew nothing about it, but it hit me like a wave, and it kind of validated afterwards. What it was. I was like, oh yeah, that makes all sense now. But,
yeah, and I think for anybody, even if people aren't actively utilizing their skills, we all have the intuitive, and you don't know why all of a sudden you started thinking about something you haven't thought about for years, or it's like we're walking through a flow, and every now and then we catch the stream and we can actually get the information, but we don't know why.
Right, that's a good point. Like I never know. Like I do a lot of psychic. I don't, but I have a psychic medium stuff. I guess if you had to categorize it. But I never know. I can't dial up a certain person. I never know who may come through or whoever. And I'm just saying, I'm not that talented. I'm really not. But But when they come through, it shocks me, much less the people. And I'm telling them, like, hey, your granddad said you got something there in your pocket, and then they pull it out. Like, how'd you know that? Well, your granddad just told me. But yeah, exactly. It still shocks me, So I get what you're saying. I love that. So you must. I love the fact that you use psychics as a mediums as a tool for investigating. Mm-hmm. And I know you must. You're like me kind of way. You're like a psychic and an investigator. So 'cause I always call myself a walking, breathing EMF meter.
Well, it's funny because I'm a classic Virgo. I'm very logic-minded, and I'm very skeptical in general about things. I don't get excited until everything's been until I can't truly find an explanation. So I go into things, and even though I do have my psychic skills, I don't consider them to be verifying unless I can, of course, verify the information, say so-and-so died here and then later find out so-and-so died there. But see, even if I do that, somebody can say, well, she probably looked it up ahead of time. So, and I learned that as a kid, because as a kid, my house was I lived in basically like the Munsters house up on the hill, and all the kids knew it was haunted, and they knew we had this big creepy yard and this big scary mansion, and they were terrified. So, I can remember as a kid saying, okay, I'm tired of everybody saying, talking about the ghost behind my back. So I went and I decided to record the footsteps up the stairs at night.
Oh, wow.
And I sat there on the stairs with my dad's recorder, and I'm like 10 years old. I've got the recording. I go into school, I play it for the kids, and they're all like, oh, you put on your dad's boots and went up the stairs. Well, at 10 years old, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to prove ghosts. So as an investigator, I'm not really trying to prove a place is haunted or to even prove that ghosts exist. Mm-hmm. All I'm doing is I'm observing any commonalities, any instigators, any repeatability to figure out how this thing does what it does.
Oh, that's great. Hey, hold on 1 minute, Sharon. I just want to tell everybody watching live, I'm going to cut the live feed off now, so please go on over to www.nightdreamstalkradio.com and continue to listen in on. We're going to have some great conversations. You don't want to miss it. So please go on over to www.nightdreamstalkradio.com to continue listening in to our conversation. Okay, go ahead, Sharon.
Oh, well, like I said, it's the reason I'm in this study is I'm not like, the ghost shows where they want to prove a place is haunted, or, I don't spend all my wasted time trying to prove ghosts exist, because you just can't do that. Right. I know what I know because of the encounters I've had, so I'm just kind of going in it and saying, okay, now I've had this many encounters. What can I predict about what the next interaction will be like? Can I predict places? Can I open up that communication a little bit longer? Can I figure out how it launches itself into our physical world? So these are the things that I want to know, because they're going to be critical for me to be able to understand how it all works. I think most of us, sorry about that. There's a telephone going off. Okay. So really what I want to do is I just want to be able to say that I found something in common with